absolutely genuine. It's what all of us need to be like that. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome RVP Tracey Willms.
I feel pretty humbled by that. And this room, you guys, is full. And, oh, we weren't full the last time we were out east, so way to go, you guys. Good afternoon. I'm Tracey Willms. I'm an independent consultant and regional vice president with this amazing company. And I am so honored and humbled to be sharing my story with you guys here. I have to tell you, when John and Helena asked me to do this back in March, I could hardly believe that they had asked me. And the reason is because I do not have an extraordinary story, you guys. I'm not one of the youngest VPs, and I'm not one of the oldest. I'm not one of the fastest, and I'm not one of the slowest. I wasn't pregnant with twins on bed rest. I wasn't flat busted broke. I didn't really have any of those types of things to overcome. I actually had a really good life. I have a great husband. I have 2 amazing, healthy children. The opportunity to stay home with them. We have a nice house with a small mortgage, a new-ish car, and the list went on. I knew that we had a good life, but I still felt like my family deserved a great life and an extraordinary life. My favorite quote says that God's gift to you is your talent, and what you do with that talent is your gift back to God. I love that quote, and what it means to me is that we're not all made the same. We don't all have to look, talk, act, or do anything exactly like somebody else. But what we have to do is we have to do the very best things in this world that we can with what was given to us. And Arbonne has turned out to be the vehicle for me to do that in my life. 2.5 years ago, I was a stay-at-home mom with 2 young children. I had given up an executive career in agriculture. At the time, Kylie was 2.5 and Owen was 1.5. But I knew when we had started our family that I was going to have to choose between my family and my career. And honestly, it was a really easy choice. It meant we were going to have to give up a great income, but we knew we could make it without my income, because Brian's income was providing for our needs, and my income was providing for our wants. But after a few months of living without wants, I wondered if that was really how it had to be for me to be present with my children. Did we really have to give up all the extras? Was the trade-off for me to be home with Kylie and Owen all the fun in our lives? Did me staying home mean that we had to be so careful with our money and so tightly budgeted all the time? Or was there a way for me and my family to live the life that I felt we were designed for? Because I was not designed to just get by in life. I believe I was designed for greatness and abundance. I believe I am supposed to live a life of fulfillment and challenge, of happiness and joy. And you know what? I believe that about each one of you. The other thing that I discovered about being a stay-at-home mom, married to a full-time farmer, was that our livelihood suddenly depended solely on a very risky industry. Brian was raised on our family farm, and I was raised on a cattle ranch in the foothills of Alberta. So it wasn't that we didn't understand the risk or that we didn't know it was there. But for me, it took on a whole new meaning when we had children to care for. Brian and I are both passionate about the cattle industry. In fact, that's how we met. But with 2 young kids relying on us, I felt very different about our sole source of income, depending on the weather, the value of the American dollar, the trade and animal health policies of other countries, and a whole bunch of other things outside of our control. And in addition to that, we did not have a plan B. What if something happened to Brian? The only option would be for me to return to work full-time in the city, and what that would mean for our children was just unacceptable to me. So I started looking for the solution, and the perfect one, because I wanted to work part-time from home around our farm and family schedules and still have a big paycheck. cleaning the community hall for extra money. Now, there were two problems with that job. Number one, if there were no events in our community, I did not get a paycheck. And number two, I had to clean public toilets. So I knew that there had to be a different solution. And after using and loving the products for about 6 months, I finally accepted one of my sponsor, ERVP Carrie Sparrow's, many invitations to a DA in Saskatoon. I had never really given much serious thought to the business side of R1. I had tried network marketing with another company and had failed, so this was not very high on my list of things to do. And skincare and cosmetics is definitely not my area of expertise. But I could tell Carrie was excited about it, so I took the chance and I opened up to the possibility. I remember listening to the Discover R1 that night and thinking that this could really work. And then I took a look at our compensation plan and I knew that this would work. So I decided that this was my option and I went home and started my business a few days later. When I came home that night, I told Brian that I was gonna do this and he said, okay. And he did not know what he said okay to. But I got to work giving out trial sets and samples and doing as few parties as possible because I did not think that I wanted to be a party girl. That was just a little bit too much for my pride. After all, I was an executive. But for the most part, I did what Carrie taught me and I promoted to district in 6 weeks. Also, just 2 weeks after starting my business, I booked my plane ticket to Atlanta for NTC 2008. I was so nervous about that decision, you guys. I was sick. But something told me that I needed to do that, so I did. And what I can tell you is that I have never regretted that trip or anything else that I have invested in myself or my business. In fact, I believe that is exactly why we have been able to do the things we've been able to do. This business is flawless, you guys. We are the piece that's missing. So after 7 months in the business, 6 months as a district of 1, I finally had my first business partner join me. Carissa Holland has been an ace since the very beginning, and we went into qualifications for area that month in September of 2008. That was also the month that I finally understood the value of parties in my business. It was just another form of time leveraging for me. And just 15 months after doing 6 parties a month and offering the business, we promoted to region on December 1st of 2009. It seemed like forever and the flash of time all at once. But during the times when it felt like forever, I needed to remember that there was nowhere else that offered me even half of what R1 does. Where else, after less than 2 years, could I be making more than I had full-time in the city, be home with my kids, be with my husband as he pursues his dreams, and have a white Mercedes-Benz parked in our garage? There is nowhere else. And in exchange, the exchange we make is consistent activity. There is no right or wrong way to do this business. There are definitely faster and more effective ways, but the only wrong way is to do nothing. The only way to fail at this business is to quit. You can just never, ever quit. Make that commitment early in your business. That's what I did. And as soon as I did, there was absolutely no way that I would fail. As my sponsor says, quitting is a long-term solution to a short-term problem. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about my husband, Brian, because I think when John asked me to do this, his hope was that Brian would be able to join me on stage, because I have a husband who's not afraid of a microphone. Unfortunately, it's harvest time, so he's at home getting the fall work done. But I just want to talk about him for a minute. In the beginning of my business, Brian just humored me. He was not a rah-rah guy, and he was not a naysayer. But at our card presentation, he actually admitted to thinking that this was something I'd get over. He definitely did not see this business like I did in the beginning, but he saw me like I didn't in the beginning. Because of this business, Brian has been able to be part of Kylie and Owen's life in a way that otherwise I might not have given him the opportunity to be. Brian has definitely pitched in around the house a little bit more, but mostly he's given our kids his time and supported me. He has gone from humoring me to being my #1 supporter and my rock. He keeps me steady, and he knows the names of my ever-growing team, and his message relaying skills are getting better. He believes in this business at least as much as I do. Brian thinks about who else needs this business, who else needs to be home with their kids, who else needs more fun and less stress, who needs more time or more money. Brian and I are so fortunate to be living out our dreams together. And actually, I just want to share with you the week before we promoted to region, we celebrated the achievement of one of his goals. We won national champion Red Angus Bull at Agribition, which you guys is a big deal for us. And a week later, we earned that white Mercedes-Benz. And I believe that that was all possible because we chose not to quit. We persisted through the tough times and we enjoyed the good ones. Brian and I now get to show our kids what it's like to earn money, not just spend it. We get to demonstrate why you should never give up. Arbonne is creating a way for Brian and I to give back in a much bigger way, not only to our family, but to our community, our church, and to causes that we think are important. Because of our business, we now sponsor 2 children in Africa and get to show our kids what generosity and compassion looks like. And the best part is that we know this is just the tip of the iceberg. Imagine all the good you can do in this world if you just never quit. I want you to remember that even if, like me, you seem to have an ordinary story, it does not mean you have to have an ordinary life. You can have an extraordinary life, and you should have an extraordinary life. And if you believe in your business and in yourself, you will have an extraordinary life. Thank you. God bless you.